I think is
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah.
yeah. So that's a good question. Something about what is it that fills you with awe? Because if
Very
there
true.
isn't anything, have they got that capacity? If
Yeah,
they've never experienced it, and
that's so true.
you've described how you could get them to experience it, which is great. I mean, what I'm thinking is that it would be really, really valuable in kind of institution type places where they aren't really recognizing these values. They can't
Yeah.
kind of, it's not in their vision.
Yeah. And they're like stratosphere. And
Yeah, it's not in their on their radar, as they would put it. So to introduce that and to get them to see, I mean, blind spots and all of that is something that is going to be kind of
yeah.
an issue there that would need to
But
be
that's
grappled
really
with.
great. That's very great what you're intuiting because it is where a lot of this lives. And in a lot of different education that I've done in
Yeah,
the past, they've talked about it as what you don't know that you don't even know.
yeah. Even education establishments, they're very boxy.
Yep.
They would be great being introduced to this. Something like the Peace Forum that I mentioned, I think they've already kind of travelled along this road,
Mm.
but I think what they need is actual hard information about this is what's creating wars. It's like the economics and the legislation, and they need that hard information.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think the next step, people are primed for the next
Yeah.
step after that.
Yeah. And we do that. That's part of the science, which is once people get to a particular sort of place, maybe it's a feeling, maybe it's an experience where they do feel that trust between people in their group. They feel a sense of collaboration starting to form. Then we can start to look at some more of that sort of what I would call part of the sort of chronos type of idea, which is let's bring some infrastructure to your idea. Let's start to develop a picture of it, a photograph of it. My background's also in photography, so I love the idea. I studied black and white photography, so the idea that like I took something that was light coming through a box, and then I'm developing it in this what looks like a little bath of something, and all of a sudden a picture emerges. That sense of awe and that like, oh my God. So that's what we're doing with the science part is people start to see something different and experience something different, and then they want to start to create some form or some infrastructure. And again, an idea just remains an idea if there's no action taken, if there's no infrastructure starting to be formed. And what we're really interested in is people seeing their ideas in the world, living and breathing and taking form, and new ones, not always the same sort of ideas, but slightly massaged in a different way so that it suits some other kind of agenda. The agenda here is doing well by doing good, or
I
doing
love
good
that
by doing
line. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Nefertiti, is there anything you want to say? There's another angle I want to discuss with this, but first I'm just checking out with the others.
And I'll just scroll through these because these are just fun to look at sometimes.
Yeah, they're lovely pictures. Lovely.
Yoga. I think I wanted to hear more about the coachability piece.
Ooh, okay. Well, how does that sound like to you first?
Because to me, it's realizing that throughout life, there's what I know and what I don't know. It's exactly what you were sharing, and how there's always more to learn, and how open can I be to exploring something that I have no clue about, and also like realizing that it doesn't reflect negatively on my being. Because I feel like growing up, I was taught that I should know. I had literally read the encyclopedia, like, the whole concept of, for some reason, if you don't know, you better find out. So it wasn't more of a relational learning situation. So this coachability piece is more like working with somebody else and not allowing, like you said, drop the judgment. You know? So I love how we're like cleaning up all of the emotional pricks not pricks, I meant like sticks, like it's like painful things that we don't even realize we go through by using these words and allowing that to grow. So that and Yoda, it's like ooh.
And it's interesting. Go for it, Parmjit.
That's kind of related to the next thing of what I wanted to go on to, because if you think back to we've got this peace forum and people in there are mostly associated to different religions. And then you've got religion, and so it's something about that awareness reaching in to be able to distinguish between what are the layers of you that have been put onto you and which are the layers of you that are you. And then once you're able to do that, then you're working through your inner layers. You're better to kind of teach others and be taught yourself.
Yeah, that's really great. I use this is a little comical, but I use this stiff looking Yoda again to start to chip away at anybody who's got that kind of established thinking already and thinks they're a Yoda already.
But people don't know they are. They don't know. They think that's actually them, don't they? And it's very difficult to...
Yeah. So that's why I kind of put him there, just like, okay, let's look at that. So what does this really mean? But I do also infer this idea that being coachable might be some kind of relationship that we have to our higher self. There's a higher self guiding us, or that is us. It's just in a more sort of energy filled or spiritual type sense, but there is a coach already guiding us. And do we have that ability? Can we open ourselves up to hear that kind of guidance, or to hear and act on that kind of guidance? A lot of what we talk about in collaboration is working with the intuition, not so much the knowledge that we've accumulated, but do we have a strong relationship with our intuition? One of the things that I did with a coach, it's also, I'm underscoring the value of having coaches through life. One of my coaches once said, practice your intuition by following it, and then make notes. When I followed this particular intuition, where did I end up? Did I end up with the results I wanted? If you didn't, maybe track back your steps. And so this idea that wow, I can actually work with my intuition and practice it and follow it and use it as a guidance system. I think we're taught too much to always look at the things we've learned in books, or the things that we've, knowledge we've accumulated. And we've got these beautiful two, hemispheres of our brain for sure, and our consciousness, and, applying whole brain thinking or whole heart thinking to what we're doing in the world, and allowing other things like intuition to be our coach, our inner sort of guidance to be our coach. And then, out here in the world, what I think all of us are, I know I've experienced that with all of you and Mike Thomas, as well as being incredible coaches in my life, when I'm stuck somewhere or I don't understand something. Mike Thomas has this body of knowledge about, and it's like the minute he starts talking, I'm getting coached and getting understanding things in a particular way. So it's so yeah, I think it's what you're saying, Nefertiti. It's what you're saying, Parmjit. And again, these are again simple tools and tips to kind of open up our way of thinking, or at least point out like, wow, maybe my thinking or my experience might be a little bit constrained or limited. Huh, interesting. And then you start to get curious about that area of what we don't know. Very cool. That's basically it. I mean, I just let people sort of dwell in these a little bit. This is you're experiencing the nature of our sort of online mastery programs is just simply allowing people to speak when they want to speak, to talk about a certain topic. There's no real, it's an organic sort of navigation through these conversations, but what we ask people to do is just take one or two and sort of embody them from week to week, and then come back and share where, something like generous listening, to me, I shared with the most recent program attendees, this is where I bring the most I bring this principle the most to relationships and conversations today, especially with the polarization and the just sheer combativeness of people's sort of energy. And so, I bring this the most, generous listening. And then I watch to really speak in a very particular way to people. I look to, my committed speaking is generally around speaking from the heart, living close to the heart's desire. And, when I'm present and conscious of that, my speaking becomes differently. I use words like visionality. Sometimes I even make up other words, just again, so that it's indicated that we're living over here for the moment in this Kairos space, rather than in this established, we already know, we're already saying the same, because you can hear it, right? People say it all the time in the news. There's the narrative that you have to track, and they repeat the same things over and over and over. And then you wonder, is that really committed speaking, or is that a kind of speaking that has strings attached or a hidden agenda and things like that? So I've been using committed speaking and generous listening quite often lately with people. To form new relationships or new pockets or new aspects of relationships. And sometimes this can be, like performing surgery with certain groups and certain people, and other times it's very open, very free form.
And I think there's something about getting people to actively seek out people with opposing views, or people who they don't normally come into contact with.
Yeah, that's great. Here are some other, going back to your question, we do ask some questions in the beginning, and we call them like challenge questions, because sometimes people will want a little bit more of a process, and they're like, how do you do this? Where's the techniques and the process? And so we start to kind of ask them to come to these programs with some challenge questions. We get them very much in tune with any sort of breakthrough goals or ideas that they want to see out there. And they could be for themselves, it could be for a team that they're working with, or even their own organization. We've had people from, CEOs and VPs from different organizations who are like, I really need to take this to my entire organization. And then really start to look at the challenges or where they're stuck. Because again, that could just be an accumulation of a lot of established thinking, and what they need to do is just chip away at that a little bit. And we use the tools like mutuality and curiosity and things like that to start to chip away at that stuff that keeps them stuck and challenged. And then really starting to get them to see that perhaps a lot of these challenges and stuckness could be a relationship, whether it's with one person or a group of people, where you need to reveal something about that particular relationship, or the way maybe that people just interact with each other. And one of the great ways we do this, and we do this even virtual. We started doing this virtually. I have a picture of this beautiful glass talking stick that we literally pass around virtually, kind of like this. But when and that sounds strange and funny for some people, but at some point when they're given the talking stick, whether physically or virtually, their heart starts to open up and something starts to get revealed, and they can see that there might be something they're holding back in a relationship, maybe even holding back saying something very authentic that they're afraid to say, and that if they have the courage and the willingness to apply, some kind of committed speaking, that something starts to open up. And when that opens up in the relationship, they start to see movement in their stuckness and their challenge. And there we are going, they're clear and free to actually see how they can start to impact their goal and create a kind of milestone. There was something, so these are just some extras, but we have this beautiful sort of idea that breakdowns lead to breakthroughs, even though something looks like it's falling apart, or it might actually be getting reorganized at a much higher level. So we have these sort of ideas too of what it might look like when some elements are present in a leader, in a team. And I love these two images because they almost look like they could be the same, but one, it's like, I don't know. I love playing with images. I think sometimes just looking at images, people get something from it. This beautiful image looks like things are falling apart, but you can tell there was some structure and some beauty to it at some point. And it simply just needs to be organized into a different functioning. And again, we don't propose to say that we know what it should be like or that it should have all this kind of structure. We're really very much into organic structures and organic infrastructure, and just putting a little bit of structure into things just to give it some life. But again, let's not live all the way in Chronos time all the time. Let's, again, with that idea of Avalon and Glastonbury, it's like, can we live between a structure and energy, and really live in that flow between the two? So
I can think of two avenues where maybe those forums could play around with these ideas. The first one is the one, Mike, that you went to, the flow, what was it called? The flow show.
The flow show.
Yeah, so I think it was called the flow show, yeah.
I'll stop sharing these for now.
I didn't go to the one 2 weeks ago, but I did go to the one, just the latest one, which was last Monday. And there's going to be one tomorrow. And the last one they did, they were very much focused on education and home education. And I know you're interested in this too, Mike. And so what they're going to do tomorrow is to kind of just put a lens looking more closely at that whole topic. And they wanted to hear from people who are in the education system and it's not working. So I've invited my sister. She's a primary school teacher, really, really frustrated. And then they're going to have other people as well who are interested in that topic. And I think those 6 principles would provide a great foundation for setting up an educational system or structure. To focus on what are the things that need to be part of this.
Good. So
that's the first thing. And the second thing is that there's an organisation called the Alternative UK, and I've only just been in touch with them. So what we've agreed is let's have a conversation and find out a bit more about each other. But they are focusing more on like anchor organizations, and it's about trying to co-create a new politics instead of the kind of duality, binary thinking that's going on. So that's their focus. And I think that those principles would go down really well in that.
That's really wonderful. Because one of the things that I want to create through the time banking system is, again, I referred to them earlier as the 16 hours that we recorded from that program. And how do we take those 16 hours of recorded materials plus the assignments we gave them and create like a simple introductory program, online program, 6-week email program, where it's automated, people have an experience, and it really has them play around with those principles and then locate themselves really like, it gets them already. And then you can start to have real tricky conversations if you must, where people are not seeing eye to eye. But if we all start from that common ground, that common foundation. And again, there were definitions for each one of those 6 principles, but I just naturally wanted to experiment with you guys to see what it's like just to hear the words and see an image and have you formulate it for yourself. What does that actually mean for me?
Yeah, that's sourcing the information, sourcing the experience.
Yep. Because Charlie, who's one of the board members, says it's all inside you. Everything, the overview effect, the 6 principles, everything. Even this whole idea of like looking out from a high perspective down into the earth. Like the overview effect. He goes, that's all created within you. And indicating that we have ultimate control over how we want to experience the world, how we want to experience ourselves, and how we want to experience our relationships with people. That it isn't something out there. It isn't that other person that has.
No, the individual at the moment is taken completely out of the picture because people start with targets and standards and all this.
Yeah.
And it's the wrong place to start, isn't it?
Yeah.
And people they haven't even thought through the questions of actually, who am I? Or, what am I good at?
Exactly. And how would I really like it to be? How do I see my future or a future for a group that I'm with? No, this is great. I'm glad you're seeing it. That it's got some value for sure.
Just wanted to add one thing that visually I saw Maslow's triangle.
Yeah.
I saw your principles as the circles that fill up the foundational. And I'm sure that there's more, but it was taking that structure of what we do know, and this is the way to get it. So in a more, organic and holistic way, as opposed to just, you gotta need to be safe and
exactly.
So it's all the layers and combining them.
Yeah. Very cool.
Once you've set somebody off so that they're familiar with them and they can use them, they can go off on their own. They don't need to keep on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. Good. And I'm glad that you saw that it does start with the individual. I mean, that's where I know I locate myself. It always starts and ends with the individual. Everything else, is shapeable, malleable, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Good. Good.
Okay. So we could stop maybe recording there so we can then have a recording that's not too long for other people to watch.
Sure. Yeah, it's up to you, Mike, whatever you want to do. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I usually break them up into half-hour chunks. So, yeah.
Good.
So,
is there anything missing? Is there anything that you were wanting to hear that you thought, if we said something about this, that would be consistent? But really, It's about locating the person. I guess it's like a little meditative sort of adventure, just to kind of hear a few things, hear a few words, and then start to explore. And I love what you're saying, Parmjit, because we naturally find, just like Mike did, we didn't ask him to do anything with the principles, but he found a way to kind of use them and make them understandable for himself, and was able to share it with other people. So I love that idea that you get something for yourself, and then you kind of use it as a navigational tool, and use it whenever you need to, however often you need to, or wherever you need to. Yeah.
Mm.
I'd like
I'm
to ask.
wondering whether, sorry, the strapline "doing well by doing good." I'm wondering whether they could be used as a basis for, like, I don't want to use the word performance indicators because it's so very old paradigm, but for kind of harvesting, like getting people to note when changes have been made somewhere in some form.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. Doing well by doing good. Love it. And we just took some time away from Chronos, right? From the competitive world, and we just spent.
Yeah, it's like, can we find some way of measuring when we are doing well?
Good, perfect.
When we are doing well.
Yeah,
that's when we're doing good.
That's a great idea. That's something we could even build into the online program, is some sort of self-assessment or some kind of measure. I like that idea for me too, is measuring these more sort of organic, elusive kind of, how do you measure energy? I'm sure there's a scientific way to do that from that perspective, but for us, is there a way that we know that we can measure?
Yeah, let's try some stuff out and see.
Very good.
Yeah, what comes up for me is the principles are really the building blocks of fellowship.
Very nice.
And as we're observing and even observing it within a group like this, or observing it to ourselves, that is the shift, the time that we're taking out of Chronos time into Kairos time. One of the things I want to ask is, after having this conversation, I want to check in with everyone. What are you inspired to do, in the next day, week, 2 weeks until we meet again? What each one in the group, what are you inspired to do moving forward after being with these 6 principles for the last hour?
I'll just say very quickly, I'm inspired to really roll out this online program with the help of the Time Bank. So I'll create them as offers and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's what I'm inspired.
Excellent. I would like to make this presentation available to the time banking international community. So.
Beautiful.
Yes. I'm inspired to be more mindful of the principles and perhaps the overlay of where the information is not the main goal, but the interaction. So that's what's inspiring me.
That's beautiful.
Well, I'm inspired to try and be part of the Rolling Out project, if that's something that would be acceptable.
Absolutely.
Then try to see if we can introduce it into forums where it would actually have a use and can be piloted.
Very nice.
Excellent. I'm inspired to, if we're going with the natural rotation, if I'm facilitating next time, I would like to revisit those 3 most meaningful conversation structures that I think Nefertiti, you've been a part of a little bit. Marta, you've done all 3 of them, and I'd like to reintroduce those next time through the filter of the 6 principles. So, like, the In My World exercise is both committed speaking and generous listening. The question circle is curiosity. The emotional calibration, the emotional ladder is energy awareness. So I'd like to reintroduce those next week, and it kind of provides a little bit of a structure to the conversation to help generate generate dialogue for awareness of those 6 principles. So that's something I'd like to ask if everybody's interested, if that is okay, that we might explore that next time.
I would for sure, because we can, anything that you guys come up with like that, I would love to incorporate into the program. Even if it's a kind of assignment, an additional assignment or something like that. But I would love to have it go organic like that, and add, you know, your gifts, your talents, and your ideas to it.
All right, well, we are at 8:20 right now on our time. So is it okay if we check out? Does anybody have any unfinished business or something that you still want to say that's been left unsaid before we check out?
No, I'm just grateful. Grateful you guys got something.
Definitely. This is just kind of any other business type of stuff. Is Mike, I'm just wondering, are you still in touch with the Flow show thing? Have you got
No, I have not been able to return to the Flow show. I would like to attend again. They usually meet Mondays, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be tomorrow evening.
Tomorrow evening, okay. I won't be able to make it tomorrow evening, but I do want to see if I can consistently go there every week. Tomorrow I won't be available, but I do. You know,
do you have the means to access?
I think so. I have the link that you had sent me. So.
Okay. I've managed to delete everything, so hopefully it's the same link for everything. Otherwise, I'm going to.
Yeah, I still have it. If not, I can go to their website and maybe register there. But yeah, I'll try the.
Just go ahead and register for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and then I know Marta's got a lot on, but we'll find a way of getting.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about it. I'm not sure I know more about it, but if you want to send some information, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll send you information. If you've got time, that would be lovely. I think you'd be really an appropriate person. But if you're kind of really full of stuff that you're dealing with, then don't worry, Mike and I can represent the project and stuff.
The power of the group, right? When you're not, when you're not the group takes over. It's great.
All right, let's go ahead and do checkout.
Okay, good.
So I'm really excited because I can actually see a project forming and like a road ahead, whereas I think before I was kind of, this is all very nice, but you know, yeah, and in other areas as well, projects seem to be kind of coming my way, and so it's good.
Good. Yeah, and I just want to say, in consistent with that, the president of the institute did recognize. I spent about an hour and a half with him and told him all about us, and he did formally recognize that he would like to support us with anything that we're willing to create. So that's great, because he built also the Wright Brothers Institute from the Wright Brothers fame in Dayton, Ohio, and he's just very heart-centered. Even though he's out there in the world doing a lot of Chronos type of activities, he's very heart-centered and really wants to support people like us.
So who is the Institute?
Which one? The one I just meant, the Collaborative Innovation Institute? For the time being, it's me, Charlie Smith, another partner of mine on Martha's Vineyard, Bob Johnston, and then Bart Bartholomew, who just authored that book. He's the president.
Okay.
And he came from another institute, or he still manages both, but he was the co-founder, still is, the co-founder of the Wright Brothers Institute. And they do a lot of work with our Air Force here in the U.S.
Great.
And I imagine, he keeps hinting, but I imagine he's doing some stuff with Space Force as well. It should be interesting.
Great.
I'm checking out with just such gratitude. Gratitude and looking forward to more awe-inspiring moments. So, thank you.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm checking out a lot more comfortable now. I put this constant pressure on myself that I have to run fast all of the time, metaphorically speaking. And today just helped me to just realize, you know, we're all right where we're meant to be. You know, we're all perfect right where we need to be, and coming together like this. I'm very grateful for, you know, having the space to be able to listen, having the space for everybody to, you know, kind of take in and also to contribute to each one of, you know, each one's, you know, personalized offering. So I'm feeling grateful for that. I'm feeling more comfortable, and I'm feeling like, you know, we speed up by slowing down. So I'm feeling comfortable in knowing that I'm right where I need to be, and I'm feeling inspired to just take the next step. I don't have to take the next 100 steps, just taking the next step to, you know, to get me through today. So thank you. And thank you for that, Marta. Thank you for that, that wonderful offering, that wonderful presentation.
Wonderful.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right.
Yeah, I feel inspired.
Okay, so we will log off, and we'll see each other in 2 weeks. And by the rotation, I'll be facilitating next time. Then Harmjit, then Nefertiti, then Marta, and I'll keep Mike Thomas, you know, apprised of what we're doing as well too, if he wants to rejoin us at some point, if he can. You know, love to have him. So.
Or even for an update, even if he just wants to check in for an update, because I'd love to hear how things are going for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's definitely part of this group.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good, good, good. You guys are awesome.
Great.
All right. Have a great weekend. I'll have the hours posted. I'll have the hours posted later today.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Marta, you're the host, so I'll let you.
Oh yeah.
Meeting.
I'll end it.